Hi guys, Richard here. I have always wanted a little kickback combo, one that points at you when you play, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to use all these extra parts to build one. So we want to take the amp out of here. We want to take our Celestion V30 right here and stick them in this old JBL monitor. See how well they'll fit. So I think first thing we gotta do is clean up this old monitor because it's pretty gross. My friend Joey gave me this old monitor wedge. So now we need to take the amp out of the cabinet. You guys remember my Peavey Blazer that we put the reverb tank in a while ago? This is actually a different one with a working reverb tank. And I like these little amps, and they're pretty easy to come by. The Rage is definitely easy to come by. The Blazer's not as common, but still common enough that I don't mind borrowing parts.
What kind of video are you making?
Pornographies. Gotta make that quarantine money. Giggity. The reverb tank never stays connected in these things. I'll have to glue that back down.
What?
Talking to the camera. So the other reason I chose this amp is because it was very close to the width of the opening right here, so that way I figured it would be a little bit easier to cut a new piece to fit this. Now I think what I'm going to do is sort of go the simple route and put a board I can put right over the top of this that these screws will hold down since they're already in place, and then we can cut this to fit in there probably towards the top of that board. And then that should be pretty easy access to all our controls. So what we're gonna need is about 5 1/4 maybe by 15. See if we can find something like that in the shed. Okay, so out here in the shed, I was going through some options. I actually have some very nice figured maple, but it's a little too short. I think this is really all we'll need. Some plywood that when cut to a shorter size will be stout enough. This is just Luan plywood, strong but also thin, so it won't stick up too far from the top. Alright, so now we have to figure out the size of the amp. So it's right at 2 inches. By 13 3/8. So I was going to go through the trouble of making templates, but I kind of realized I don't need to do that, just because where these holes are, you know, they are 1/8 of an inch pretty much from the edge, and this board sits on top of the 2 ports nice and even, so I can literally just line this up where I want, bump this down 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and that'll be our first 3 holes. And then once we get those set right there, we'll be able to then measure how far the other holes are in and make it look nice and even. Alright, so just to be clear, these holes are 4.5 inches on center, and they are 7 inches apart on center. So we can do the math and just equalize that on our board to get this where it'll hang right in the middle. you know. So we know where our holes need to be. They actually need to be about 3/8 of an inch in on either side to make this look right. Hey, we got a visitor. Come here, buddy. Percy's inspecting. So I decided the most accurate way to do it would be to get it set where I want, get the two that I knew I could measure accurately in, then take a sharp screw, reach in behind, and poke holes in the wood so that I can then drill through those holes. And they'll be exactly where they need to be. Alright, I drilled 4 holes in this amp here so that way I can adhere it to the front of the wood piece that we just cut, and I may need to make some supports for the inside, we'll see. So I've got my center line drawn, and I want this to be 12 by 2, as I've decided that 12 is the actual width of the opening we need. So make sure we're squared up here, and then 6 inches from each side of our center line I need to make a mark. So 1 dot at 12, 1 dot here at 1, and then 2 inches down right there. So you guys remember our paint area on the porch? It's about time we start using it again, and it's about the time of year where I can. So continuing with our ghetto way of making us a kickback amp, a little Wedge amplifier, I have drilled the holes, waiting for cars. You know, all these people social distancing, there's, you know, a whole lot of non-essential people out there on the road. But anyhow, I've drilled the holes to hold the amp in, and I cut the hole bigger than the amp because I actually have a tube amp that I'm going to put in here one day that fits pretty much this dimension, but it's a little wider, so that's going to look a little wonky, but that'll be okay. I'll fill that in for now, and when I get that tube amp, I'll do an update video. Just hitting it with some black primer. That's all I think it needs. Oh man, I should have wrapped this in vinyl. That'd have been cool. Part of the reason we're doing it ghetto is because I want to get it all done in one night. That figures. It's fine. We're fine. This is all fine. We're just going to hook that there. It's primer. It'll dry quick. We'll come back out here in a few minutes. Alright, so while our new faceplate is drying, I am extending the speaker leads just a bit, because the new cabinet is obviously much bigger. There's a way I like to splice cables. So if you take your 2 cut ends and you butt them up together in such a way that they sort of untwist, then you twist them together like so, you get a pretty good hold already, so that when you drop the solder on it, it's a very strong hold. what you just heard was a Peavey Blazer converted into a kicked back amplifier, little combo. I'll tell you what, that Celestion makes all the difference in the world. You know, the little tiny 8-inch speaker amps don't normally have the kind of balls this thing has now. I think the ports help keep the low end focused. It's a very interesting sound. I actually expected it to be a lot more tinny. It's got a little bit of a buzz where the tape I used to cover the hole here on the bottom is flapping a little bit when you put some, you know, chunk in it. Other than that, pretty happy with it. I think I'll get a tube amp to go in this thing at some point. Make a better front plate, probably. And there's a hole where the wire comes out, which is kind of cool. You can tuck the wire up in. But that hole is already there. It's where it looks like a handle broke off. So I'll fix that too at one point. And if anybody asks about the wood chips that are in the doping of the speaker, when I pulled this out of the amp I pulled it out of, it already had them in it. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this thing. I really like the sound of it, surprisingly. So we'll probably do a better video later on of like a demo of this thing in a mix. Wow, you know, these vintage 30s are really good for taming the fizziness of solid state amps, I find. What a great, fun little project. I know it's kind of ghetto, but so am I. But yeah, guys, if you like cool, weird little projects and stuff like that, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate everybody supporting me, hanging out on my channel. And I'm going to keep playing with this little thing. I will see you guys next time. Thanks again.